Hi guys, Brook Potter here. In this video, I wanted to take some time to respond to a very common question that I get asked concerning my move from Trinidad and Tobago out to the United Kingdom, which basically is, well, how is it that I have accomplished this, and can anybody else do the same thing as well? So in this video, I'm going to tell the story of how I received my British citizenship. And I'm going to give some educational pointers for those who might be interested in also considering a move to the United Kingdom or even possibly to the United States. Now, in my case, it all kind of started back in 2012 when I did a trip out to Thailand. I've made no secret about my Christian missionary past. In fact, my Christian channel is still up and about under the same name, Brook Potter, if anybody's interested in seeing some videos from that time. I don't really involve myself in ministry anymore, but nonetheless, I'd made a trip out to Thailand in 2012, and I was the only person who did not carry a first world passport. And as a result of that, I was subjected to a number of extra checks. I had to get a yellow fever shot. I had to report to the health office, as well as customs, as well as a number of other delays, both arriving and departing from the country. And I was very frustrated, and the team was waiting for me and all these other things. So upon my return to Trinidad after that trip, I decided really to look into this situation. And I knew that my mother held a British passport, but for time immemorial, she believed that she was, in fact, a British subject. And anybody knows anything about the UK immigration categories, there are a number of them. There's Commonwealth, subject, citizen, and so on and so on. I mean, I don't even know half of them. But upon examination of her passport, I realized, wow, in fact, she is a British citizen. And, I set out trying to figure out what was the way that I too can, receive a British passport for the sake of all the traveling that I was doing. Now, it's a little complicated, but there is a retroactive law that was put into effect whereby any person who was born to a British parent, father or mother, before the year 1930, I believe, was entitled to British citizenship. And that is basically how I got it. My mother got her citizenship back in the 1960s. And I inquired of a couple immigration lawyers in the UK, and they all directed me basically to this legislation, which was very easy for me to kind of follow up on. I got the forms. I did some research, and I got an original certified copy of my mother's citizenship from the 1960s. I can't remember how much that cost to do the research to pull that up. But basically from the application to the actual passport in my hand took me 3 months to do and cost me just over, let's say, £1,000, give or take, which was quite incredible considering that I'd spent a lot of my life trying to find a way to get to the US, and all of those routes were far more expensive. Which again kind of leads me to the idea that I really am where I'm supposed to be, at least for the duration. Now, of course, not everybody has a British parent. Depending on how far back you look at the immigration laws, some people who might be a little older, you can actually claim it through one of your grandparents. And again, I am not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I would suggest you speak to an immigration lawyer to see what is the best solution for you. Now, apart from that, there is another way that I know a couple people have managed to secure at least a work permit out into the UK. And, this is just, for educational purposes. These people planned between like a 4 to 6 month vacation to the UK. And they came out to the UK and they basically got involved in every networking event that they can go to. Two of them were educated through the International Extension Program through the University of London. That's the school that I started to do law through. And they basically went to the university, which they got their degrees from. And they spoke to the human resource manager out there. They got involved in recruiting events put on by the university. They went to a number of expat events through something called internations.org. I will put links to that below. They went to a number of those events, again, networking in their field, trying to build connections. They also got onto what is basically a business networking application out here called Sharper. It's worldwide, but I know one of the guys, he actually met somebody on Sharper in a business capacity. They met for lunch. They kind of hit it off, and the job opening came through that. But once a job offer is secured, you can then apply for a work visa. And it's a lot easier once you have the job offer in hand. You don't have to wait. Like I was considering, there used to be this work tourist visa for people under the age of 30. I'm not sure if that's still going or not, but when I was much younger and I was under that age, I had put in an application to a proprietary trading floor in London, and they basically accepted my application, and they just wanted to know when I was coming in to kind of finalize the interview. So you don't need to actually wait to get here before you get in touch with recruiting companies and start putting your name out there. So that's the way I would suggest. If somebody's looking to do this, I would say that's probably the best option. When it comes to the United States, again, I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is just some of the early research that I've done. It may have changed in this time period. But when I was younger, I was trying to get to the United States. And I basically had two options available to me. Right now, I do have a relative that is a US citizen that lives in the United States, and I could potentially get my citizenship through this individual. But if anybody knows the immigration process in the United States, it's a lengthy one, and it could take a decade or more to do it legally and to do it right. And there's a lot of legal fees and other things attached to that. So that's one way I could have done it to secure a green card and stuff like that. The other option that I was considering was something called the L1, L2 intercompany transfer. Now, I had a business in Trinidad and Tobago, and basically, and again, I'm not an expert, this is kind of how I understood it, I would have opened a subsidiary, a US corporation, under the ownership of my Trinidad and Tobago company, and I would have rented an office, and basically I would have set up a US division or subdivision in the United States, and I would be allowed to live and work for my company in the United States. So of course that doesn't work for everyone. My company was a import export consulting information technology company. So it was a very broad company, and technically there was no reason why I couldn't get contracts to work for other companies, and they basically hire my business. And I think if you had a spouse in that situation, she's given an IEA, or is it an employment authorization document, EAD, I think it is, and your spouse is allowed to work while you are allowed to work for the company. I think it was something like that. I considered it. I may still consider it if things in the UK deteriorate. There's definitely a lot of infringements on free speech and a lot of infringements on human rights. It's kind of getting a little crazy out here. I may still consider this option to the US if it deteriorates much further. But yeah, guys, I hope this information is helpful. It is answering a lot of people, who ask me about this. And, again, I'm not a legal professional. This is just a little bit of the research that I've done. I'm by no means an expert on this. Please consult the relevant legal authorities on both of these matters. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was educational. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the notification button so that you'll be alerted every time a new video is uploaded. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Take care.